live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Hey, thanks for joining us for 2 News Live today. I'm Mark Cabell, filling in for Brian Schnee. Brian is on Super Bowl patrol. He's on his way to Las Vegas. He'll be live all next week for us with all stories related to the Super Bowl and the big game coming up in Vegas. Now, we're going in depth tonight on the possibility of Utah getting a lottery. We've talked about this for decades. Now, before we dive in, though, let's take a look at what's making headlines today. The U.S. launching a wave of airstrikes against Iranian-backed militants in Iraq and Syria. It's in response to the deadly drone attack Sunday that killed 3 American soldiers in Jordan. Officials tell the Associated Press the mission involves manned and unmanned aircraft targeting command and control headquarters, ammunition storage sites, and other facilities. Leaders have said it would be a tiered response, the White House intimating there could be more strikes tonight. Sandy's mayor says work to fill in this sinkhole almost finished now. Take a look. It's a lot different than what it looked like last night when a water main broke near Silver Sage. The hole formed while crews were trying to fix that break. A sewer line also started leaking. So far, 1 home has been damaged and flooded. 30 others, though, have been impacted by the repair process there. It's Utah Cancer Action Day up on Capitol Hill. It's being hosted by the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. Advocates urging lawmakers to support a bill to reduce out-of-pocket drug costs for patients. People living with complex chronic illnesses often rely on copay assistance programs to help pay for their medications. The American Cancer Society believing that these programs harm patients by undermining access to life-saving drugs. Parents will soon be able to take their children to a new Intermountain Pediatric Care Center. Ribbon cutting today after years of planning. It's the new Larry H. and Gail Miller Family Campus, dedicated in Lehigh today. New facility includes an outpatient center, a medical office building, and a 5-story, 66-bed primary children's hospital. The campus will open for patient care on February 12th. As we go in depth, you can always get in touch with us during the show if you'd like. You can use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join in the conversation. We always like to hear from you who are watching. Top priorities for Governor Cox: affordable housing, fighting homelessness. But today, a legislative leader says there's not enough money for everything. The governor says we could use more, but where do we get it? Brian Malahy live at the Capitol tonight. Brian, what are you hearing today about our rainy day fund? It's been depleted quite a bit lately.
Well, yeah, Utah has a rainy day fund, but the legislature says there's not enough money. At least the House Speaker says there is not enough money, and therefore the governor can't get everything he wants related to his priorities, which are attainable housing, so starter homes, affordable housing, and some people even use the term deeply affordable housing, and homelessness programs, including a lot of money that would be spent on new shelter options for people around the state. So in all, over $300 million we're talking here in the budget proposal based on what the governor was saying in early December. House Speaker Mike Schultz says the money is not there. We're not going to be able to fund all of that. That's really the first time we've heard from a House leader say that the money is just not going to be there. And it could be a signal that the legislature is intending to cut some of what the governor's priorities are. Now, the other option, the other piece to this is, well, are you getting the return on your investment for money that is already spent in these programs so far? And today, Mike Schultz said we would like to see more accountability. There is a measure up here that would take a lot of different homeless programs and put them under one roof. It's getting its first test at the Capitol this afternoon. Whether it flies in this session, we don't know, but that's one thing that's out there. And so return on investment and also lack of money. That's what we're hearing. Should also say, though, at the same time, that the legislative leaders, including Schultz, have talked about a $160 million income tax cut. Today, Democrats said, forget the tax cut. At least Democratic leaders said, forget the tax cut. We'll instead, fund these programs. And instead of housing and homelessness, she says homelessness first and then housing programs ought to be big priorities, top priorities at the legislature.
Brian, the housing problems have been getting bigger and deeper. Some of the people that service us, firefighters, police officers, they can't even afford to live in the areas where they actually work because they can't find housing. So there's a big trickle-down effect, a negative effect for people that just can't find a place that they can afford, especially a place where they need to work and live in the same community.
Yeah, and the governor's answer to that is 35,000 starter homes by 2028. And what is a starter home exactly? I've asked him that question, and he said, I don't really want to put, I don't want to put a definition on that, but I know it's not $500,000. Well, $500,000 is, a median priced home, actually probably below median priced in the Salt Lake Valley. So where do people come up with this, especially when they have, especially when we have interest rates that are still around 6, and now you're talking about, coming up with 20% of, $500,000, so $100,000, and then you still have a mortgage that might be $3,000 a month. I mean, the numbers just are staggering, I think, for some people. His answer is to spend money on it, spend some state money on it, to try to get to try to jumpstart the housing market by creating more supply. And that's something that we've bandied around a lot. There just aren't enough homes out there, and people say, oh well, there are all these dense housing projects out there, more and more apartments, more and more condominiums. Well, where are people going to live? This may be the product of growth, and so a lot of really tough questions up here at the legislature, and the priorities. You don't envy people. Trying to make priorities up here, because it's tough. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, Brian, we don't know what's around the corner with the economy either. Interest rates are high. They're talking about interest rate cuts, so who knows, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's a tough
Appreciate
one.
It is. All right, this is a tough one too, because we've talked about it for years, decades. I've been here since '97, and every year it seems to come up. Will we get a lottery here in the state of Utah? Today, a representative officially filed an amendment to change the state constitution to legalize the lottery. Jake, you've been covering the story today. How feasible is this? Is this something that can happen?
That is the question. There are some pushing for it, certainly more than there have been in the past, but there are those who are certainly against the idea. So how it could happen if it does move forward, I think we can explain a bit different than a regular bill. It needs 2/3 in the House as well as the Senate. If that happens, then it is then put on the ballot for the next general election. So if it passes through the House and Senate, come November, you'd see it on your ballot. You'd vote yes or no to the idea. If it gets a majority over 50%, then we would have the lottery in Utah. Now, one thing we were just hearing from with Brian, he talked about the money that the state needs. Obviously, the lottery would bring in quite a bit. As of right now, the sponsor for this, Representative Kara Birkland out of Morgan, said that legislative staff told her $200 million is what is spent by Utahns right now every year on buying lottery tickets in other states. That money doesn't come here, it goes to other states. She wants to spend that money here. She wants it to come into the state coffers. And if that happens, her idea is to spend all of that money on lowering property taxes. Her guess is that would lower property taxes by approximately 10% or so. So that's kind of her push, why she's behind it, and what she thinks will convince people to get behind this idea as well.
Yeah, now, the downside to this is you're right. People, if the Mega Millions gets up to 300 million and Powerball gets up to 400 billion, people are going to go to Malad, they're going to go to Evanston, they're going to get their tickets, right? That money stays in those states. We don't get it. And so that's one of the big downsides. The upside would be we could use that money for education if we had a lottery here. So that's a plus.
Yeah, some people think there would be a big plus in spending that money here. Now, of course, the representative in supporting it says it would help lower taxes. Opponents say the opposite. They say this wouldn't get rid of taxes. They say it would be a new tax. The governor, we heard from him earlier in this month, the phrase he used to define the idea of a lottery is a tax on people who aren't good at math.
Right.
Because He says essentially any revenue coming in is a tax, and this way it's just taxing specifically that group of people that would want to play the lottery. So that's the question you run into.
The bill sponsor, though, says it's not a tax because this is voluntary. You have to go and get a ticket.
Yeah,
that's on you.
No one's forcing you. She says that, people have to make that decision. She says, unlike some other forms of gambling, she believes this is more entertainment, that it's maybe in her mind, her opinion at least, not as negative, not as likely as to be addictive as a casino or other kinds of gambling that she is in favor of. And to be clear, this amendment would just legalize the lottery. It wouldn't legalize gambling or other games of chance of any kind in Utah.
That's interesting. So what's the timetable for all this then?
The timetable is we've got the legislative session
Right.
to see if it's going to make it through the House and the Senate. It's just been brought forward today. We'll see how quickly different groups want to take it up. It sounds like already the Senate president has provided some resistance to the idea. And then if it made it through, we wouldn't have a final answer until November, when if it made it through the House and Senate, it would then go on the general election ballot.
Jake, the governor doesn't like it, but he can't veto it.
That's a very good point. The governor has actually very little power when it comes to the idea of an amendment. He can give his opinion. He can say he doesn't like the idea, but officially he has no more power than anybody else. The only official way he can be for or against it is when it potentially comes up in November, and he could vote yes or no the same as anybody else in the state.
So he'd go to the poll and he could vote yea or nay.
Just like you or me, that's the only official power he has when it comes to an amendment.
All right. The legislative session continues. Stick with 2 News. We're going to keep an eye on it. Jake, thanks for giving us your perspective on the lottery. We appreciate it. And we'll, of course, keep following all the bills up on the Hill that impact you and your family. You can download our 2 News app for breaking news alerts from the Capitol. We'll keep you up to date. Trent, it's wet out there.
It is, yeah. It's a soggy day today, isn't it, Mark?
So is this the atmospheric river of doom?
Doom, yes, exactly. That's it.
It came in through California.
The storm of trouble wiped them out, and now it's on to us.
But we're not going to get what they got in California, right?
Not nearly as bad as what they've gotten. They have mountains there that block a lot of that moisture from getting to us. So we get a couple pieces of that moisture coming in over those mountains, and it does diminish the effects here across Utah.
Are the skiers going to be happy?
The skiers are going to be very happy. We're getting more snow in the mountains, and what's wrong with that?
All right, I'll let you take it away.
All
Tell
right.
us.
Here's a picture from Rose Park this morning out on the golf course. A couple diehards still trying to get their licks in at the links. Caught this group putting on one of the back holes, and we actually have a weather station out on Rose Park right on the golf course, and they picked up over 0.6 of an inch of water. It was pouring the whole morning pretty much in northern Salt Lake County, but check out Leeds down in southern Utah on I-15 in northern Washington County, picking up well over 1.25 inches of rainfall, 0.8 in Magna, close to that in St. George as well. Monticello picking up 0.6, and Moab a couple of hundreds, so not too bad. Pretty much everyone in the state getting at least a little bit of moisture. Here's a live look. This is actually not from Eagle Point. This is at Deer Valley, where the snow continues to fall, and it is piling up in a big way, especially towards Bryan Head, where they picked up 14 inches in the last 24 hours. Alta 8, 6 at Eagle Point, 5 at Snowbird, and there's Deer Valley, 4 inches, along with Solitude. Snow Basin and Powder Mountain, 2 inches, but they're getting a little bit more tonight, so we're going to be expecting a little bit more mountain snow. You can track the counterclockwise flow around this area of low pressure. It's pretty much centered right on top of us here in northern Utah. As we look down towards southwestern Utah, we've actually got some convection here towards Nevada, and that's streaming in from the west. So we can expect those showers to continue here across the St. George metro area for at least the next couple of hours before we expect drying conditions. Across central Utah, a couple snow showers there on I-15 from about Scipio south through the southern extent of Beaver County. These are generally light in nature, and they're not exactly causing any travel issues right now. But as that sun goes down, we are expecting some slick roads on some portions of I-15. We've got some scattered rain, snow showers, valley rain and mountain snow showers here in northern Utah. It's all snow up in the mountains and along the Wasatch back, including I-80 from Parley's Canyon all the way through southwest Wyoming. Snow falling in Park City as well as Heber. And we actually have a little bit of snow mixing in now on the southern end of Salt Lake County. So we have a live look. This is up on Wasatch Boulevard near Bengal Boulevard, right where that Smith's is pretty much. And this is at about 5,000 feet. Now we have seen a couple snowflakes mixing in at times. Accumulations are generally light. You can see a couple of those snowflakes stacking up on some of the rocks on the side of the road. And that's about it. And that's pretty much what we're going to be expecting tonight, is maybe a slushy inch at best on some of those higher benches. We're not going to get a whole lot on the valley floors. But what we will get are some winds, because we have a little bit of a feature passing through tonight that's going to shift our winds out of the south, or out of the north and west, I should say. So some of our usual suspects where we get that downsloping flow will be in Castle Country, so we can see some 20 to 30 mile an hour winds through much of the day tomorrow in places like Price, Hanksville, Escalante, up towards Rock Springs, as well in southwest Wyoming. As we play that out through about 6 o'clock on Saturday, we're keeping those winds in the forecast. Even Wendover out on I-80 towards the West Desert getting a little bit breezy at times as well. And then here's our current storm, the one that's giving us all the active weather right now. Well, guess what? It's going to be the same exact storm giving us active weather by early next week. All it's going to do is shift down to the south, grab onto another one of these atmospheric river of dooms that Mark likes to talk about, and it's going to send it right into the western coast of the United States again. As early as late Sunday night and into Monday, we can see valley rain and mountain snow showers popping up, lasting through much of the day on Monday. It becomes statewide on Tuesday, and then by Wednesday morning, this is where things get interesting. We get a little bit of cooler air in here, enough to potentially mix those snow levels down to the valley floors again. So we're watching this one Wednesday morning through about Thursday mornings, when we could see potentially our next period of accumulating snowfall here on the valley floors. So here's what the models are saying through at least Sunday morning. Generally light, potentially 0 to an inch here in Salt Lake City, and it will be a slushy one at that, with the temperatures as mild as they are. But if you're headed up skiing, temperatures will not be mild. The northern Wasatch, so think of Snow Basin, Powder Mountain, you'll be in the upper 30s tomorrow with those AM snow showers. Cottonwood Canyon's definitely colder, staying below freezing along the Wasatch back with those snow showers continuing. Partly cloudy skies down at our central and southern resorts, also staying rather brisk in the 20s. And on Sunday, northern Wasatch getting up into the 40s, 30 degrees in the Cottonwood Canyons, and we're looking for mostly bluebird conditions across pretty much all of our resorts across the state. Mostly cloudy skies down at Bryan Head and Eagle Point. And on our 7-day forecast in St. George, not only do we have the rain right now in St. George, but it's going to kick up again Monday through Thursday, and even a couple showers potentially lasting through Friday as well. Those temperatures dropping into the upper 40s. And here in Salt Lake City, 43 tomorrow, mix of rain and snow primarily in the afternoon. We clear out things on Sunday, and then our next storm rolls in for early next week, and those temperatures won't be in the 60s anymore, Mark.
Unfortunately.
It will be.
But it doesn't look like I'm going to be shoveling. I live right off of Bengal down there, so
there you go.
Thanks for showing me my neighborhood.
Your backyard.
There. Yeah. Are you going to go boarding this weekend?
I will. I'm going to go
skiing?
tomorrow, actually. Yeah, might as well.
Send us some photos, okay?
I will.
Chime in for us.
I will chime in for you.
All right, Trent, thank you very much. Remember, download our 2 News weather app to know about any changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts. And don't forget about live radar on your phone. The app is free to download. Hey, Cruising Los Angeles assembling the red carpet for Sunday's Grammy Awards. Trevor Noah returning to host for a 4th time. Look for some history-making performances. Remember, what's old is new again. U2 will be performing live from the Sphere in Las Vegas. Folk icon Joni Mitchell will sing for the first time at the Grammys. Billy Joel returns to the Grammy stage after a 30-year absence. He'll be debuting a new single. You can watch the 66th Grammy Awards Sunday night right here on KUTV. And I should probably mention, too, that Taylor Swift is up for Best Song of the Year. We need to...
Well, I'll get my viewership now. I wasn't going to watch, but now that you mention it, I'm going to watch now.
All things Taylor Swift for all you Swifties out there. All right, Trent, thank you very much. And thanks for watching 2 News Live. Like I said, Brian is getting ready to host our Super Bowl coverage from Vegas all next week. So we hope you tune in for that as well. Have a great afternoon, everybody.